figure out what's real. If you're actually getting recruited, like if you're getting recruited by 20 A-10 schools and one Big East school, okay, so what's that telling me? Like I know I can probably, my skill set's the A-10. Maybe I want to bet on myself and go to the one Big East. So I think trying to figure out what's real and guys that are actually getting recruited.
Did you guys watch the game yesterday?
I did watch the fourth quarter highlights.
Just the fourth quarter highlights? Did you watch it live?
I only caught, I actually pulled over because I don't know if you remember Mike Banks from Madison. He was like, yo, this game's going like crazy. And I was like, I pulled over real quick and ran into a restaurant and watched the last like 7 minutes.
That's true. And you watched the highlights?
The highlights were 6 minutes and 38 seconds.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that's probably about when I ran in.
Yeah, no, I watched that game yesterday. What do we think about that game?
Yeah, I mean, you just didn't know which way it was going to go. But it's always like, you know, those good teams, you know there's going to be a switch. Is it 2 minutes? Is it last 3 minutes? So I was waiting for that switch.
I thought they were dead. And that team was actually really fucking good.
They were good. Yeah,
they were like, some of the players on that team were, I don't know who they were, but it's like they looked like a team that it's like they're from another freaking planet, like an actual challenge. Like it looked like an actual challenge for them, which is crazy.
Yeah.
They don't get like, I've never heard of anybody except for Joker and
Bogdan. Yeah. They just all play together.
What do you about this game? Such a big thing. USA going to the gold medal. All the headlines are about how Tatum didn't play. Does that bother you? It bothers me. It's such a dumb thing. Like, I know that's what goes, but it just pisses me off.
It definitely doesn't bother me because I have a very level head. You know, I'm not going to get affected by everything on social media.
I'm getting trolled by 12-year-olds today, so sorry, I'm a little off.
Yeah.
Oh,
but I do think, this is what I think about it. I think that it is granted that he doesn't play. My personal feeling as somebody watching that game, like, I fear we would have lost if he was playing. Like, why would you have him in the game? Like he's slow. Devin Booker can get around the court quickly. He's not like catching, like, why would you have him with KD on the court? Like, what is he going to bring to the table? Like, why would you have him on the court? I don't know what his role will be. Now, you can argue maybe he should get a couple minutes, but it's like, is that actually helping you win the game? Or is that to feed what's politically correct?
I don't have a problem with him not playing. That's my thing. Kerr made a decision and they won. Good decision, right? Like, you've got so much star power on that team. I just hate that it's like that's the focus of this thing now, that he didn't play. Kerr's going to have his reasons. When you take Curry out, he had what, 34, right? With Booker, 36, right? You're telling me he's slow. That's a ridiculous thing to say. He's one of the best athletes. I wouldn't call him slow.
Well, movement-wise, mobility on the court, like Booker getting places quickly, transition quickly. That team was really good. That team, watching that game, it's like it wasn't a fluke. U.S. wasn't playing bad. They weren't playing bad. They were doing what they're supposed to be doing. That team was freaking rock solid. They knew exactly what they were doing. They had some old dude that he looked Russian. He didn't even look Serbian, and he was just running the show. He was running the point. He was running the show. Who would you, like Anthony Edwards, like how would you not have him on the court? Why would you have Jason Tatum on the court? I think he's not specific enough to something where it matters. Now, like Jaylen Brown, he should have been on that freaking team, and he should have been on the court, and he would have really helped them. But it's like Jason Tatum, it's like he's not a better cat. Like, why would you have him for catch and shoot over Devin Booker? Devin Booker's going to move around the court better. He's gonna create a little bit more havoc. And then KD, LeBron, Steph. And then he's not playing the big. So now
that's what I'm saying. You're not going to play over KD, LeBron, Steph.
No.
Right. That's, I mean, whether they should be in there or not from a skill standpoint, those guys should be in there regardless. They're the most seasoned. They've got NBA careers. They've been in the Olympics. They're freaking winners.
It was so electric the end of that game when they took over. Dude, it was Steph, LeBron to Steph a three. Then LeBron came down with a crazy finish. Finish. It was a crazy. He took off, jumped over the mat, finished, inside hand finish. Yep. Steph finished, KD in somebody's face. Embiid was before them. Embiid was really doing his thing. He had some crazy flop where he did some type of tumble. I posted it. So I
saw that the kid. I didn't realize Bogdan did that too. I just saw that. I was like, oh, when did that happen?
Like three times. It was like ridiculous. It was
I just must have missed it or something.
And then Booker did it to Melo. It was like, I got you, Melo.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
But no, that was the end of that game with them three going crazy like that. It was it was pretty electric to not see it live.
For
Feel
sure.
bad for anybody.
I
that
enjoy
hasn't.
watching the track more than basketball.
All right. So Greg, what do you want to talk about today?
Oh man.
The track.
It's the
Track.
track. I enjoy watching the track events in the Olympics more than Olympic
Oh,
basketball.
okay.
With the COVID?
No, I just enjoy watching the 100 meter, the 200 meter. I enjoy watching the track
Something different.
sprinting events
Yeah, it's something
more
different
than
you
I
don't see
do
every
watching
day.
USA
I
basketball.
get it.
More than you like watching Steph, LeBron,
Yes.
and KD
Yeah.
play against good comp.
Yeah, I watch basketball.
That
all
was
the
like
time.
one of the best
Yeah.
games, though.
That
I
was
know,
a great
but
game.
I'm always
That was a
watching
great
basketball.
game.
It's like nice to watch something like there's so much pressure into 100 meter sprint and so much build up. It's like
It's true.
it's a quick thing, and it like that's excitement. Again, I didn't get the same level of excitement. Like if I'm watching the Knicks and I watch the full game and it's coming down to the wire, then I'm feeling the excitement in the playoffs.
Yep.
I watched 6 minutes and 38 seconds of highlights
They
in
were
the
down
fourth quarter.
17 in the
Yeah,
in the
I know. I
second
saw
half.
it. It was in the highlights.
It was like that game, that All-Star game that was super competitive where they did that weird ending before COVID year in 2020.
Yep.
That's what it reminded me of, this game. It was just like star power, electric. They were going at it.
You know what's another game? You guys watching the TV or watched the TBT at all this year or not really?
No.
Really?
No.
Yeah, so I went down to Kentucky because one of my friends is coaching at Kentucky now, and I rolled with him to the TBT game versus Louisville, and it was nuts. Monday night, 9 p.m., sold out building, 12,000. People going nuts, like cursing at each other, fighting each other, like just wild. And they it was a good game back and forth, but at the end, there was like some pushing and shoving and whatnot. But it was just crazy to see that level of fandom on a 9 p.m. Monday night for guys that, played 10 years ago at those schools. It was crazy.
No, it is
crazy.
wait,
Just to speak on crazy.
Who was in it?
Like the TBT team for Louisville and the TBT team for Kentucky. So like
Kentucky, yeah.
you had Bledsoe, you had Willie Cauley-Stein, you had Montrezl Harrell, like Russ Smith, like all those dudes going at it. So it was like an old school.
sick.
No, actually competing.
Yeah, in the old where I guess Louisville used to play. So it was like old school on top of old school, like rivalry. So it was crazy, man.
Wait, what's you can't be a current pro?
No, you can't be in the NBA currently. No,
You can't be in the NBA, but
yeah,
you can be
I
a
think that's the
pro, though?
rule. You can be a pro, overseas or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. But it's still like Bledsoe. It's a guy that made $100 million in the NBA. Just
Savage.
ripping it up. It was cool to see. They had a kid, Sestina, who played at Bucknell. I don't know if you guys remember him at all, but he went off for like 20. Just a crazy environment, though. Crazy
Yeah.
environment.
I mean,
Talking about
that's
environments,
sick. That's
you know?
actually sick, because those are people, like if you've been around for long enough to see everybody coming through. Like
Yeah,
that-
coming back. Yeah,
Yeah.
full circle, all that. Yeah, for sure. No, it was interesting. It
Yeah,
was
no.
interesting,
That's cool.
to say the least.
Wait, if you were the coach of the US team
Mm-hmm.
and you had all that pressure, are you, after Tatum not playing the first game, are you making sure that he doesn't not play again, or are you not worried about it?
I think I'm just going through my process of game planning, like that I've always done with my staff, and what makes the most sense. Obviously you're going to have pressure that amounts, but those guys are professionals. They've had pressure before. I don't think that's going to dictate their decision one way or another. That's just my opinion. But what I would do, again, it sounds corny, but I would just, whatever the best lineup was to win, that's what I would put out there. If you felt like he was too slow or he felt like, it doesn't make sense, whatever, like you're going to put the best lineup out there. And maybe that wasn't him that game. Or, who knows?
Yeah.
It's such a game of flows too. It's like
Yeah.
a little thing like that is a big decision because it could disrupt everything that was working or that isn't working.
For sure.
I didn't watch the game, so I don't know if there was a point that made logical sense to throw him in there. I have no idea.
Right.
I just think it's crazy that it's such a big thing, and here we are talking about it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the hot topic, right? You win an NBA championship and then you can't get in the game. It's crazy. It
No,
is
I
a
love
cra-
that for him, because you
You
know
know?
what? Pisses me off. Draymond, I saw him say today that it's crazy that they didn't play him, meaning his current head coach didn't play Jason Tatum. It's like he's just like
just
looking
going at
for
it.
a fight.
No
with
doubt.
anybody.
No doubt. I saw that too.
That's funny though.
Yeah, that's just a different type of league. The NBA, you can just say what you want.
I think if the Nuggets took that Serbian team and they scrapped their team and they took that Serbian team, they would be a better team than they currently are. Just my take. Watching that game, it was like they had another big on that team that was insane. He was like taller than KD.
Mm-hmm.
He was fighting, battling. You're playing against the best players in the league, pretty much.
I
You're playing with
only watched that last 7 minutes, so I can't even comment.
I don't know
on
how
that.
you say that based off
No,
one game.
but based off one game, that is kind of crazy.
It wasn't one possession. It wasn't one run.
It's one game.
They were dominating though. And watching the game though, US, the way they were playing good basketball. But they weren't
They're playing the U.S., guys that don't play together regularly. It's an all-star team. They're trying to figure it out on the fly. They're not playing an NBA team with systems, and not that there's that many systems now, but it's like they played one good game. You think they're going to be better than the Denver Nuggets who won the freaking finals last year?
I think that at least they're underrated. These people that are
Underrated.
overseas,
That's not underrated. They literally just took Team U.S. to the buzzer. Who's underrating them?
You.
They're not better than the Denver Nuggets. It's not underrating them.
I don't know. Watching that team, there were some tough players on that team, but
Tougher than Jamal Murray?
Jamal Murray, you know what?
Tougher than Aaron Gordon?
They
Like,
got
what are you
sent
talking
home by
about?
literally Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns. They got sent home. If the Minnesota Timberwolves played that Serbia team, they're getting smoked.
No.
They're getting smoked.
You're just saying ridiculous things.
How am I saying ridiculous things? They're getting smoked.
No, they're not.
I'm telling you, they're getting smoked. They're not beating that team.
They might get one game, like they almost got one game against the U.S., against a seasoned NBA team that's playing. Like, they're not
If
beating
they're
them.
the seasoned NBA team, I think they're getting smoked. That's just me, though, just watching. Because I watch the NBA. I watch
It's
a
not
lot
just
of
those
NBA.
two on the Timberwolves. Nas Reed, the whole team, the long, athletic. They're better across the board, 1 through 10.
Highlights.
I watch basketball. I just didn't watch the full last game.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm literally telling you everything I've watched over the last
I'll
couple
call
seasons from these
them.
teams.
I'll call them, and I'll have them come through to Montville,
right.
and they'll do a scrimmage.
I'm gonna ask Greg some questions about stuff.
Yeah,
You got any?
might as well. You know, we got him here.
No, that's all good. So is this the podcast?
Did we start rolling yet? We've been rolling the whole time. Oh, okay, good.
Is this the weekly breakfast show?
This is the weekly breakfast club.
Nice. I like it.
We should talk. We should call the pod bad pod.
Yeah.
Like everything is good drills, but our podcast is just
Bad
bad.
pod.
It's just awful. Like,
That could be.
you like
could be
that?
good,
Just the
yeah.
bad pod, and we just sit here and talk about nothing.
Bad pod. And then you just play on how bad it is so they listen.
Yeah, we got Greg here.
I like that.
Flew in to be our guest, and me and Ross have been going back and forth. For 30
No, I
minutes.
like that. Bad pod. I like
That's why
like
we have
that.
Gabe and some of those guys over there across the borders.
Aaron in the
Gonna make
Philippines.
us sound better. Yeah.
Interesting. How's my man? You still guys have the kid from where is he from? Greece or Turkey?
Yeah, he's in there.
He's
He's
in
a
there,
lifetime.
so-
He's a
yeah.
lifetime subscriber.
Got you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's big time.
Nice kid.
The heck's his name?
His name is Giannis.
Giannis. It is Giannis.
Yeah. Yep.
Still grinding.
Grinding.
He's doing his thing.
Good for him.
We got a good testimonial video of him. I could probably find it.
Oh yeah, that kid's #1 fan.
Yep.
Man, I love it.
So Greg, if you were gonna say if you're a junior in high school right now, sophomore, junior in high school, what are off the cuff? If you were gonna pick a random kid out of the current like AU system circuit, somebody that's trying to get recruited, what are 3 things that are the most important things? What are the 3 most important things that you're telling this kid if they want to get recruited to play in college?
Yeah, good question. It's I was at like it's funny because so many kids like ask you that too. You know, there's a kid that asked me that on a tournament and like passing by. He's like, I'm playing with a 4-star kid. How do I figure this out? He gets all the attention, and I had the respect for him. Asking that. And the first thing I said, you just got to do things that stand out, right? Like, and that sounds simplistic, but what is it that you're going to stand out physically on the court? So as like how many rebounds you get a game? Maybe 2, 3. Well, can you get 6? Because like immediately coaches are going to be like, man, that kid's rebounding. He's all over the place. You know, if you're not a rebounder, how many stops or steals can you get a game defensively? How are you going to impact the game, right? So like number 1 would be how are you going to impact the game? Figure that out. However you're gonna do it. Number 2 would be, from a communication level, what level are you at? Have communications with your coaches or your advisors, however it is. Like, hey, I want to go to these schools. What do you think about that? So many kids just put expectations on themselves. Hey, I'm going to go D1. Okay, great. Like, I hope you do go D1. But, like, are you talking to your circle? Are they giving you honest feedback, right? So I would say how are you going to impact the game? Communication would be a second one. And then the third one would just be, the details and like putting in the work. And again, it sounds simplistic, but are you going to get with guys like yourself? Or are you just going to talk that you want to be, something, right? Like, are you actually going to do it? Or are you going to, put in the work? So those would be my three things. But in specific, just coming off of AAU, I really feel like that kid's question hit me. I was like, there's so many kids out there trying to figure it out, right? And it's just something simple as rebounding. And I watched him next game. He went out, he rebounded, and getting yourself in a rhythm, right? Not coming in and chucking up a three immediately. But it's just how are you going to impact the game? That would be the first question I would have. It's not always scoring.
What do you think the biggest mistake high school players make when it comes to their recruiting?
I would say like figuring out who likes you and who loves you, right? So if you're getting recruited by 20 schools, and is it they're giving you letters? Are they texting you? Are they calling you? Are they setting up a date? Are they actually interested? Because now you got graphics that are going out that are not usually. It's like, oh, offers, right? Now it's interest in offers, right? I see these graphics all the time. So like how like figure out what's real, right? And if you're actually getting recruited, like if you're getting recruited by 20 A10 schools and one Big East school, okay, so what's that telling me? Like I know I can probably, my skill set's the A10. Maybe I want to bet on myself and go to the one Big East, or maybe I want to double down and just go to the A10. So I think trying to figure out what's real and guys that are actually getting recruited.
How do you figure out what's real?
So how do you figure out what's real? Hey, I want to come on a visit. Tell a college coach that.
Yeah.
Hey, you really like me? Great. Or have your coach say, hey, I want to set up a visit, and then see what the response is.
That's good.
Like I could, like if Ross is dating a girl, he's like, oh, I like you, and she's like, oh, let's go for a piece of pizza. Oh, I'm busy. I'm sick now.
Yeah.
You might not like her as much.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what if trying to figure out what's real, I would just have your coach hit that coach. Hey man, he's really into it. I want to set up a visit.
Yeah, I'm ready to commit. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
I want to go for a visit first, just a piece at first. But yeah, I would say that. And then I think there's a large demographic of kids that we've all worked with too that aren't getting recruited at all, right? So like if a mistake in that level of that question, hey, I'm not getting recruited at all, reevaluate your role on your AAU team. What's your high school program look like? Who's reaching out to coaches for you, right? I've talked a little bit about this with you guys off camera, but the high school coach reaching out for them versus the kid reaching out, the parent reaching out is very different. You want your people reaching out for you. So I would say that's a mistake people make too, which, to each their own. There's some kids that have gotten through and gotten scholarships just by spam emailing, but I just think it's a better approach if you go through your coaches.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like if I'm a college coach and I see an email from a random kid that's vouching for themselves.
Right. Yeah.
It's actually
I've gotten
ridiculous.
like subject lines like I'm nice, watch this video. I'm like,
Hey, yo, coach, I'm nice.
Yeah, like just wild subject lines like I'm nice, watch this video. I'm like, he's so wild, I gotta watch it now. He's nice. Boom. But no,
I'm not
subject.
responding, but I'm gonna watch.
Yeah, I'm not responding, but I'm gonna watch. Like no subject lines, their life story, then a video. Like just don't get, like if you're gonna do that, hey, your name, opportunity, hey, this is who I am, video, but like not your life story.
In the training world, that conversation is how much a sesh?
How much a sesh? Yeah. How much a sesh? Yeah.
Hey, yo, coach, how much a sesh?
Right. Trying to get nice.
Left on red.
Yeah.
Every time.
Every time.
It's the same thing with hilarious. Like the when we get DMs. Like if I'm going through our DMs or my DMs or whatever on Instagram, it's like most things. It's impossible to look at everything. But it's like there's real strategy of like how, like if somebody says something the right way,
for sure,
I will answer, and depending on what it is, I will answer in a certain amount of depth. Gotcha. Sometimes I'll go back and forth with somebody. Sometimes I'll send a voice note.
Oh, wow.
Because it's like like I'll go hard with like oh, like I really want to get back to this person. Yeah, because of how they approached it. Like what is that first thing, you know? And that's massive. When like the whole somebody else reaching out on your behalf, especially if it's your coach.
Yeah, I think it just comes off of what you're saying is genuineness too, right? Like, not requesting someone and then following them and then shooting them a message like, hey, you want to do all this and build relationships, and then a day later ask for something, like this just doesn't, the life don't work that way.
Nope.
So it's trying to build that genuine relationship. And you're right. How do they say it? I always said, like, in the email, like your subject line in your email could be weaponized, right? If I emailed Bobby and Bobby doesn't know who I am, but I saw that, I don't know, he has a gym in Montville. Maybe I email him and say, Montville gym looks good. That might be so wild that why is someone email me about Montville gym, or old dance studio content is fire? I'm going to open it. If they say to me, St. Benedict's prep question, I'm going to be like, no one emails me for St. Benedict. Let me open this, just creativeness,
Somebody hit me up, not a player, somebody else. I don't answer, like there's a bunch of business inquiry, like whatever, like for a bunch of different things. I never answer anybody because I'm like, oh, it's spam.
Yeah.
Like this is just copy and paste message. But somebody wrote a whole thing, and like the beginning of what they said was, they said, yo, I loved when you said this on a podcast, and they just quote for quote said what it was, and they wrote a little blurb after it saying like how it relates back to them, and it's like they actually, and I felt like it was real, like it was
for
like,
sure.
that was for
Did
real.
his homework,
and then I probably sent that person 10 to 15 messages.
Love it.
So that's massive.
What do you guys see, like, in the training space now too, with kids coming in and seeing what they're working with training? I feel like training has also shifted in the last 5 to 10 years in different ways. I guess I'm not seeing I'm not seeing as many like tennis balls being thrown up, and it's moving towards like actual maybe game reps or whatever. What has caused that shift? I'm generally curious if you've
Science.
noticed that. Science. Gotcha.
No, seriously, the Europeans, right? You're looking at the European, how they bring up their basketball players through. They're set in a pro whatever organization from an early age on. They're going a lot more, and you see the skill level of these Europeans coming over. Lesser athletes across the board, obviously. There's freaks out there coming over. Obviously Giannis, Wemby, guys like that. But then you see like Lucas or players of that, who aren't the most athletic, just how highly skilled they are. And a big part of their training is more free play,
Gotcha.
more small-sided games, more live reps, and a lot less dribble the ball 50 times.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. No, that makes a lot of sense. Because and listen, like I was that guy in your dance studio throwing tennis balls up, and still, to a certain degree, right, coordination, whatever. But it just seems like it's like a trend that has shifted, and it's cool. It's like nice because like the biggest thing in college, basketball, pro basketball, whatever, can you make an open shot, right? It just circles back to stuff like that. But it's interesting to see that shift in the last.
I say science because obviously there's a lot of people out there researching. I don't know, maybe not obviously, but there's a lot of people out there researching skill development, and like this is what that points to. But if we just think about it like low IQ, I won't say the word science, look at the game. How should we be training for the game? Probably stuff more representative of the game.
Gotcha.
And there's nothing like it's like people get on me, oh, you hate cone drills or tennis ball drill. It's like, I did all that.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't just all of a sudden start to shift because I felt like it. I started to shift because I started to implement more live stuff, more things of that nature.
Got it.
And I see players get better faster.
Got it.
And the biggest thing holding most of these players back is more their mental state and like the fear of competition, the fear of somebody actually guarding them that doesn't care about their feelings. And it's like, now you're by yourself and you want to get a tennis ball and you want to create and you want to do cone. That is phenomenal.
Yeah, go for
but
it.
if the thing holding you back is fear of playing against others, you need to dose yourself with that and the tennis ball and the cone work. Yeah, you're going to get better at dribbling, of course.
Yep.
But that's not the thing holding you back.
You see the lack of confidence and stuff in kids too, like trying to build their confidence.
Yeah, I think I do. I said to somebody, a kid came in. He's a level 2 kid. Came in. He's probably a sophomore. He's going to be a junior maybe this year coming up. And he started talking about confidence. I do think that it is overused and prescribed as the problem of why you're not good. It's like he's just not good.
Gotcha.
And then it's like he has all these outside people telling him like his dad, whatever, that like, oh, you have to be more aggressive. Like, and he's like, why do I just pass the ball? Why do I? It's because you're at an impasse of you want to win, you don't want to disappoint your team, and you're probably gonna do something stupid if you force it, and you're not good enough. And it's like, what if that was the equation? Because I see him in the gym, and in a one-on-one situation against somebody that, I'm not gonna go crazy here, but there's a girl. You're in a one-on-one situation with a girl, and you can't score every time. A girl that's your age, it's like, don't talk about confidence. Let's look at what can we look at objectively first. If you're a top athlete and you're clearly destroying live situations in training, and you look like you should be like a top player on your team, a top player in your league, whatever, then okay, then we could go down that rabbit hole. But it's like, let's check off those boxes first, because I guarantee you that kid in a situation where he's the most skilled and most athletic player, he's going to be more confident in that situation. And now he's just confusing himself. It's like, no, like, you're messing yourself up. You're just not that good. Something that I did the other day is I jumped in a drill a few days ago, and I got stripped. And this is why live play is so freaking important. I got stripped. Everybody was talking shit. Everybody's like, oh, Ross, like, oh, he stripped you, like, you suck. I'm like, no, I lost the ball. Like he happened to hit it, like, whatever. The next day, I thought about it like 4 or 5 times. That's the feedback. That's why the live play is important. It's all about feedback loops. And if there's no opportunity to fail or even success in the specific thing, you get no feedback from the actual thing that you're doing. So it's live play is important, yes, but not in a vacuum. It's important because of the fact that you do something, you want feedback, and then you go try again. And it's like the whole Peyton Pritchard thing. It's like, how does he train? Like, and a lot of these players, how do they train? Shea Gilgeous, it's like, what does he do? Like, he doesn't talk about live play, but he talks about, I'm visualizing playing against the best player possible that can guard me, the best defender possible. Peyton Pritchard going 1-on-2 against people. It's like, there's just so much, as much feedback as you could handle is going to be better. There's situations though where I personally think players aren't good enough for a situation, and it ruins the flow so much of the drill that it's like, okay, you know what? Introduce some heavy dose of failure. You can't even freaking put yourself in a position to even come close to being successful. But most of the time, it's like, how can you create as much challenge as possible while still staying in some realm of possibility of being successful, so that there is some approximation of feedback. Player comes in the gym, 360 layup. We're working on coordination. We're working on quick focus, all of that. If the player can't get all the way around in time in the air to go put it up, it's not about skill anymore. It's not about basketball skill anymore. It becomes about performance, which is amazing. But then if you're addressing skill, it's like there has to be some play of like challenge with efficiency of the drill that you're doing, some type of perceptual success that the player has that they think that they can actually achieve it. So it's like both. And I think when you get into the live stuff, you get so specific, and the level of challenge that you could have is just so freaking high that you will get better extremely fast.
So if you can tell, Greg, we put a lot of thought into this.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, the best line out of that, not the best line, but the one line was your first line, just, overusing confidence as an excuse, basically. That's interesting, because it comes up a lot, and it definitely is real to a certain degree. But I understand what you're saying with, like, if it's a high school kid and he's just not that good, and it could be a college kid too, but there's definitely, I've seen it just in this summer with kids that, maybe didn't play a lot at their last school, and they're just infused with confidence, and they're winning in the drill, and you're positive, and like they've taken big strides. So it definitely, but it definitely goes both ways. Interesting.
Touch the stove. You touch the stove, you get burnt. It's like, you're not going to touch the stove.
Yeah.
You're not going to touch the stove. So it's like, okay, maybe you're just not, you can't handle that. You can't handle that heat. I thought I didn't have that much confidence in college, but looking back, it's like, I couldn't move well. So it's like, I was always, if there was gaps, if there was somebody guarding me, it's like, I figured out my senior year, okay, I could get baseline pretty easily, because there's not, like, if they don't rotate quick enough, I could get in that gap and I could go finish quickly. But it's like, I think my biggest problem, I had a movement problem. I literally couldn't move well, and I wasn't looking for feedback. I was just like, try to jam a circle peg into a square hole, and it's like, that's not what I needed to do. I needed to just like what is the actual problem here? And like, okay, an opportunity to fail in practice, you should push into failure. Don't be afraid. Don't lack confidence when it comes to that. But it's like there's something behaviorally that you're doing incorrect that is objectifiable of why you're not doing what you want to do.
Yeah, makes sense. No, that makes sense.
How much skill development do you guys do at the college level?
Yeah, good amount.
And what does that look like?
Our head coach is big on the breakfast club, so every morning you're getting guys in, whether that may, depending on class schedule, but as early as 6:30 in the morning till as late as like probably cut off around 10 a.m. So that looks like 30 to 45 minutes. Sometimes in the later, like in the summer, you can go a little bit, to an hour. But yeah, about 45 minutes to an hour. A lot of shots, just a lot of shots. If you're with your bigs, a lot of hook shots. Because in practice, again, I'm not saying anything you guys don't know, but in practice, what's a guy getting? Like, if you're not the main 2-3 guys that's focused on seven game rep shots, maybe. Like, if you're not playing, it's just a drill, right? So our coaches, like our head coach, Ivan Thomas, has built his name off skill development. So I'm fortunate to be underneath a guy like that. But definitely the breakfast club. And then each coach has a position group assigned, right? We have Calvin Cage on our staff who played overseas, scored 20 points a game at Buffalo, all that stuff. So he's the guards. Then, Brian Graves is the wings. I'm the bigs. And
you're the bigs?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. Yep. So keep it real simple, right? Some of these kids don't have touch as a big man when they come in as freshmen. So can we just do 300 hook shots a day and keep it really boring? And then, one of our kids, a freshman, 6'11", if you can catch and shoot that hook twice, boom, that's 4 points. So breakfast club, and then individuals, right? We'll do individuals, small groups. And then each assistant coach has their position group. And you combine that with film as well, which like now on FaceTime, you can share your screen, FaceTime audio call, you hit share your screen, log in the huddle and rip film like that with them, do it on a Zoom, all that type of stuff. So it's a new age in coaching. Old school coaching is you got to be, in the office for 40 hours, a day, right? It's not even possible. You could do so much with technology now, skill development wise.
Yeah. You've been at 3 different levels of Division I basketball now.
Yeah.
Other than athleticism, because I think it's like, of course, the better players tend to be more athletic, bigger, stronger, faster. Other than the athletic quality, what do you see as like separators from the top players you've seen?
Just consistency, like the top of the top. Like even on high major teams, you'll have lazy players.
What does that mean?
Like it doesn't matter if I coach at Benedict's or I coach at FDU Florham D3, if I coached at Siena, if I coached at in the Big East. Like every level I've been, there's people that are working on their craft like crazy, and then there's guys on the team that don't work on their craft like at all or very limited. There's guys that show up on the floor 30 minutes before practice. There's guys that show up 5 minutes before because they have to be out there 5 minutes before, right? It's at all levels. At all levels, as that's been consistent. But it starts with what you're saying, like the high major is how tall is he, what's his length, what's he potential to be, and that's really like, and then guys start to fall because he's only 6'1", or a high major kid can shoot at a high clip. He could do multiple things at a high clip. If guys are in the MAC or the CAA or the American East, they might be a 6'4" shooting guard, but they don't really shoot well, but they can drive and they're a slasher. But if they shot well, they'd be at Syracuse, right? So I don't know if that answers your question appropriately, but that's kind of where my mind goes with that.
From what you said, the guys that you've seen that are showing up on time because they got to be there on time, the lazy ones, how often are those guys high performers on the team?
No, very, very few. And very few. I mean, I'm trying to think there's been one outlier where like a guy that didn't really work that hard, was just a killer. But that's because he was at, a level where he could just dominate and turn it on. And there's different ways people work hard, right? So like, and that's what I've reflected back on my time in that position. And, some guys need to stretch for 20 minutes. He maybe just need to stretch for 5, right? Some guys aren't as fast and as athletic, but they're crafty in its angles, but they look like they're playing so they look like they're playing lazy, but they're not, right? But yeah, no, like David Duke at Providence, he was, he's in the NBA consistently in the gym. Jaden Epps at Georgetown, leading scorer consistently in the gym. amongst a lot of other guys. But though, like, if you're in the gym, you're gonna reap the reward.
The players that score the most, that played the most, they had an intention with the work that they were doing outside of it. And all the stuff that we do in the gym, for the most part, is we focus on challenge, and we focus on how can we just get more out of you, more focus out of you, make, even on our end, even with the drills that we do, how can we get more efficient drills? And it's like, but that's not to say that all the like simpler work and the volume and the just, I believe in that so much.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a group, like I was like, who came in here today prepared for the training? Because everybody there knew, and we had some future D1 players, like, you know what it is. You guys have been here for years. It's like, you know what it is when you're here. I'm not going to dance around and do simple things. Like, you don't need, I don't need to be there for you. Like, you work on your like technique, you work on dialing things in, reeling your focus and all of that. You do that by yourself. When you're here, we're going to compete. We have groups. It's like, are you prepared for your training? You know how hectic it can get. Are you preparing for that?
Yeah.
And the best players that I played with, and essentially what is it in what, like when you're in college, when you're practicing, it's like, it's all live drills. It's like a lot of it is like you're freaking going up and down. You're doing shell. You're doing like all these different things that are like live components that you're getting so much of that competition in. Are you preparing for that? For me, like looking back at it, and when I see other players, like having a routine just to say that you're working hard and doing a routine is very different than being intentional with what do I have to do to be at my best. And I think I agree with that. It's like Steph Curry is not walking on the court and he's just like Steph Curry. Like he has a freaking, like he knows exactly what not too much. He doesn't do too much. He knows what he has to do to be playing at his best, and he's constantly updating that. He's constantly focused on what are the things that are changing about my preparation that makes me play at the best level. And I think that if players approach practice and players approach training that was actually competitive and training that was challenging and pushing you to the edge that was close to game-like, and they did that every single day, going back to confidence, it's like, if you don't do that and you're complaining about confidence.
Yeah, no doubt. Confidence is in the work, no doubt about it.
At our top level, we got level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 3 is the highest level. I'm trying to think of anybody that dominates in our training that doesn't dominate when they go to their high school or college. Like, think about it, the way we train. Now, if we were doing crossover here, there's a lot of guys that can do that, right? And you can see them struggling, or you can see them dominating choreographed stuff.
Yep.
And then that's not a telltale sign that they're dominating outside of here. But the way we train with the amount of live stuff that we do, everybody that is dominating in our gym dominates outside of our gym. I'm trying to think of an outlier because there might be one, but not really. Level 2, you might see some kids that are very good at that level and then suck when they leave, right? But like that's where we can see who they really are. And again, it's not the exact same. There's no refs, there's no fans, there's no system that they have to play in. But it's like, what this tells me is now the players that are struggling in our top level, or not dominating, because they're in our top level for a reason. They're going to play in college, but maybe they're a D3 instead of a D1. It's like, well, we see them struggle in our gym. That makes sense that they're D3. They look like a D3 player in our gym. Whereas if we were just doing cone work and all this, and it's like talking about the reps, right? I know that when they go to other trainers, when they go to their AAU practice, when they go to their high school practice, they're getting all that. The players that train with us spend so much time playing basketball. They're working not only with us, because we're only in the gym 3-4 days a week. Those other days, they're with other people. I know what they're doing with those other people. So why would I just give them more of what they're already getting? Right? So we might go a little overboard with the stuff we do. We definitely go overboard with the stuff we do. But it's like, I want to give them something that they're not experiencing, because that is so valuable. If we had a scripted warm-up, scripted this, they sit in school all day, sitting at a desk, chalkboard, this, that. It's like, I want to give them something that just breaks them out of their freaking the zone that they live in.
Yeah.
Most players, when I see what they do, when they tell me what they do, when I watch things, it's a warm up. It would be our warm up, which is not a bad thing. But what are you warming up for? What are you warming up for? Like, if you're warming up to dominate in practice, you're warming up your brain. You're warming up your prep. Like, everything is preparing you to dominate in practice. You'll be good in the game. But if you're just warming up, say you had a player on your team that just didn't practice for some reason, and they did all their routine. By the time game time comes, they would suck. because they're not getting those live reps. They're not integrating it with the team. It's like what players don't do is they don't get enough live reps. And it's not just you got to play in 1,000 AAU games. You have to take it out of the game and go like, how can I get the most amount of live situations, the most amount of density? We talk about efficiency. How can you have more efficiency with what we're doing in the gym so that you promote challenge? They get the time under tension for the things that actually matter. And they have to care. There's players that come in level 3. They are thinking about X, Y, and Z. You don't see any feedback adjustments like I talk about, and you don't see that much frustration from them when they don't perform well, when we're actually like, we're doing our 3-on-3 stuff, we're doing our live drills. It's like, they just go through it. The best players, they're like locked in. They're making adjustments on the fly. They're like, how can I be better? Me right now, I'm not saying I'm whatever. The next day, I'm just like thinking about like, what the hell did I do? Like, how can I do something differently? What's a different solution to this problem that I faced? And that's what the best players are freaking doing. But most people just warm up. They're just warming up.
Going through the motions.
You know?
It's getting really hot in here because we have to turn the AC off for the audio.
Yeah, it's hot as shit.
So I want to have like a closing question here because I just want to turn the AC back on.
That works.
Hot topic.
Like the clothes?
I want to get this right though. Something about like parents and their behavior with recruiting.
That's fine.
Right. I see a lot of overbearing parents, underbearing parents. That's a word.
Yeah. What do you could say like, have you had experiences with, or I don't know. Yeah. However you word it. I got something.
Yeah. We're just coming up. So this is going to be out there. We're coming up with the right question answer so we can cut this into a short form piece of content.
Let me see.
But we're going to leave this in the podcast.
On fire.
This part right here.
On fire.
Well, how could we get a good?
Yep. We need numbers.
Parents.
We need a pain point. We need a, what are some of the worst qualities that you see?
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Greg. What are the worst qualities you see out of parents
when it comes to their child's recruitment process?
Greg, what are the worst qualities you see out of parents when it comes to their children's recruitment process?
Listen, first off, every parent wants the best for their kid, right? So like, I that's a great question, but I know where every parent's passion is coming from. However, that being said, obviously there's certain things that people can do to put their kid in a bad position, right? So like number one, what I discussed earlier on the podcast, let the coach handle, emailing someone or contacting someone so you don't look like a helicopter parent, right? You're hovering across, around your kid. Monitor your social media. If you're on Facebook complaining about the referees at every single game, or Instagram on every single game, like those posts are going to come back, right? If you're in the crowd and you're yelling at another team's player or a different player, we're sitting on the baseline. We're going to see that. And here's how a college coach thinks is that, okay, if this parent's acting like this now and our family section is directly behind the bench that we leave tickets to come watch your son, which is directly next to the president's suite in the school's, administration suite. We're picturing you screaming at the ref with our president and our AD who hired us next to you. And then I'm saying, who is this? Right? So like that's all that's going through our mind. So monitor your social media, harness your passion and intentions for your kid the best you can, and just present it the best way possible. And listen, at the end of the day, you got to be yourself, and whatever yourself is. Just know that college coaches are watching, and it's a very, very small community.
Have you ever not offered a kid based on his parents?
I mean, I haven't had a job where personally I can offer, like, head coaches
at the
come
schools you've been at. Have you ever seen circumstances where a kid did not get an offer because the institution didn't like his parents?
I have, yeah, I have.
Let's end with that. Be good parents, not bad parents.
Love them up.